Good morning. I'm going to talk today about Trump fatigue. But before I start, I want to invite you, if you're interested, in joining my Facebook group called What Makes People Tick. And if you do, sign up for it. I'll send you a chapter from a book that I wrote not long ago called More Than Bread and Butter. And here's the subtitle. Gives you a sense of what it is. A psychologist speaks to progressives about what people really need in order to win and change the world. So I'll send you a chapter of that, and I hope that you find that interesting. But today I want to talk about what's known as Trump fatigue. And I want to say right off the bat that this is not an unbiased analysis. I suffer from it, and most liberals and political moderates do. So if you like Trump, if you're conservative and are tired of liberals bashing the president, then you might not want to listen to this Facebook feed, live feed, or you might want to listen to it to understand better what makes people tick on the other side of the spectrum. But there's no claim here for an unbiased objective analysis. But first, I want to put out some definitions. Trump fatigue, to define Trump fatigue, is the experience that one has of being bludgeoned every day by one more grandiose or bitter presidential tweet, one more personal attack on a politician or a foreign leader, or one more distortion of reality. So what are the psychodynamic reasons that Trump's antics cause such fatigue? The first reason is that we're helpless to stop him. Trump commands the airwaves, social media, and even the coverage of his liberal media critics. He's everywhere, every day, talking trash about people, insufferably bragging and lying to our faces. The House of Representatives might stop his wall, but we can't stop his pontificating. Helplessness, though, you see, is psychically toxic, and we respond as we always do to any kind of helplessness, with outrage, depression, or both. But outrage and depression, you see, each saps us of energy. Outrage is especially problematic. Anger is often the way our minds respond to helplessness, isn't it? Think about it this way. Anger seeks to enforce our claim to agency. It's our protest against passivity. It's part of our attempt to get up off the mat when we're knocked down. Our minds try to use aggression to resist Trump's psychic assaults. And anger is also our way of opposing gaslighting. Trump's lies, his constant need to create and maintain an alternative universe in which he's the greatest president that ever lived, are attacks on our reality testing. When someone's trying to drive us crazy, trying to gaslight us, there are only two possible responses. We fight our way through it, or we succumb and comply with it. Either response takes a lot of energy. Holding on to and forcefully asserting our own experience of reality against gaslighting requires a lot of force, a lot of psychic force and energy and momentum. But the opposite reaction, surrendering to and complying with Trump's worldview, a worldview that we know deep down is crazy or just evil, utilizes even more energy. Betraying our own instincts, our own selves, takes a toll that's far greater than the effort expended in outrage. Now, obviously, this outrage over Trump's obvious psychopathology is especially common among liberals. But each time we feel it or observe others feeling it, it's as if we're seeing and feeling it for the first time. Outrage, when I use the word outrage, it almost always contains an element of shock. Think of it this way. It's a sort of scandalized indignation. But this outrage is curious because there isn't a single grandiose utterance, not a single humiliating tweet, not a single bald-faced lie that isn't completely understandable given Trump's psychology, which has been diagnosed as a malignant narcissistic character disorder. And it's been professionally diagnosed, but it's been hiding in plain sight for decades. See, Trump is constantly defending himself against anxiety and shame. You don't need to be Freud to understand this. It's common sense. Think of the last time you were in the presence of some bloviating, self-centered braggart. Usually, of course, it's a man. Was there any doubt that he was desperately trying to hide or compensate for feelings of insecurity or insignificance or weakness? No. Trump is just such a man. He wears these conflicts, in fact, on his sleeve. What in the hell is shocking or surprisingly horrifying about this? So it was striking to me how on the day that Trump called himself the chosen one and called the president of Denmark nasty, that Chris Matthews and his guests on MSNBC were shouting over each other, competing to show who was more outraged at how reckless and crazy the president of the United States really was. As if Trump's mutterings that day were anything more than a natural and predictable expression of his need to defend himself against feelings of being small or of being shamed in public. See, Donald Trump is a narcissism, paranoia, and sadism machine. Every day we see symptoms of these pathologies. We should accept this fact and our inability to change it. At his worst, Trump's like a crazy and abusive parent, forcing us to always defend ourselves, protect ourselves with some combination of outraged aggression or helpless protest. We seem to have to continually review and defend objective reality. Because these attempts to maintain our own sanity take a lot of energy, in the end, we just feel tired and depressed. Now, obviously, the we who get the most tired and depressed refers primarily to political moderates and liberals. I'm sure that the same character traits that pummel us might energize many people in Trump's base. But for liberals, surviving the Trump era means finding ways to compartmentalize, accepting that we're powerless over the inevitable stream of his crazy provocations, while simultaneously trying to live our political lives aligned with our values. Now, the elephant in the room of any discussion of Trump's psychopathology is that he obviously has tremendous power and is using it to destroy the environment, undermine our democracy with quasi-fascist and racist political sensibilities, dismantle the welfare state, and engineer a massive shift of wealth towards his fellow economic elites. Part of aligning our political lives with our values means not only working to defeat Trump in 2020, but to shift power in Congress towards a progressive Democrat agenda. It might involve becoming more active locally, arenas in which democratic values can still thrive. It might mean demonstrating in the streets against the fossil fuel industry and their political enablers, which happened yesterday with young people flooding the streets of major cities around the world. It ultimately has to do with organizing for power. As Rachel Maddow frequently says, we have to pay attention to what he does and not so much to what he says. And here's the bottom line. We can't block out the poisonous messages generated by Trump's narcissism, his malignant narcissism. But we can instead focus on what we can do to resist his actions. In the end, it's sort of the serenity prayer, isn't it? We have to have enough serenity to accept the things we can't change, the courage to change the things we can, and of course the wisdom to know the difference. So that's my spiel for today. I hope you got something from it. And again, if you'd like, visit my group called What Makes People Tick here on Facebook. Get a chapter from my book, see what you think. And I hope to be talking to you again soon. And most of all, I hope you have a good day today.